service your existing car with us right now.
And it's worth £500 off your next car.
Yes, at Macklin Motors Toyota, we'll give you a £500 voucher off any of our brand new Toyotas when you book in for a service with our expert Toyota trained technicians.
We even have complimentary courtesy cars available, so book your service now and get £500 off any new Toyota.
Visit macklinmotors.co.uk or see us at Kennishead Road, Darnley.
Macklin Motors, the new name for Toyota sales and servicing in Glasgow.
Valid on services till 30th September. Excludes Motability and fleet customers. One £500 voucher per vehicle purchased by 31st December.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
With us tonight, two giants of Rangers and Celtic in the past. Someone familiar to you on this channel, Craig Moore. Craig still smiling after Rangers going through 3-0 the other night against Union SG.
Yeah, look, it was a massive result. It was a result that I believe could happen. Rangers need a little bit of luck on the night. You know, you look at the first goal and you look at the third goal, there were errors, but Rangers, without performing, if I'm honest, at their very best, got exactly the result that was required to get to the next stage of the Champions League. So a big night for the club it was.
Bit of controversy today. Ali McCoist has been saying Rangers should get help with the fixture list in the next couple of weeks. Maybe Hibs against Rangers on Saturday, August the 20th should move. Well, the man alongside you, you last played against each other a few years ago. Rangers against Celtic, Celtic Rangers. You also played Ayr United against Rangers. He's the former Motherwell, Celtic, Newcastle, Bolton Wanderers. I'm just looking at him, not at the sheet. Hibs, Partick Thistle, Ayr United star, and Scotland striker Andy Walker. Andy, welcome to Go Radio.
Good to be here, Paul. Good to see you again.
You've got the best job in Scottish football, covering it there on Sky, and you get to most of the top games.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm lucky not only just to cover the games in Scotland. I get the chance to go down south and see a few games. I did Newcastle last week, doing Sunderland this weekend, as well as Kilmarnock Celtic on Sunday.
Good to come up against Craig Moore again. So we've been thinking back, but you remember playing against him, especially when you were at Ayr United.
I think the first time we came across each other was when I was at Ayr United, so that would have been 98, 99, and I didn't really know Craig that well, but I was given a heads up by our coach Ian Munro.
Yeah.
And he said he was a bit of a hard man, and I said, oh aye, is he? So
I'll sort him out.
there was a loose ball. Rangers won 2-0. It was a really good side, Paul. I mean, Van Bronckhorst was the best man in the park that night. I think Craig might have played alongside Colin Hendry. Gabriel Amato scored. Charlie Miller scored. But there was a loose ball between us, and I thought, right, if he's a hard man, I'll go in high. And actually, I did go in high. And to be fair to Craig, he went for the ball, so he was hurt.
It was a League Cup quarter final. You remember it?
I go for the ball, eh? I went for the ball. Look, it's one of those things that happens in football, and obviously didn't hurt me too much because I couldn't remember it.
It was just a little one.
Just a little love by it.
Did we miss any of your clubs there when I went through them?
Bolton.
And Bolton, I mentioned Bolton. My goodness.
Sheffield United.
Yep, they love you there. Of course,
I liked my time in South Yorkshire. All good.
Your goal ratio was fantastic. The stats were great, weren't they? At Bramall Lane.
I enjoyed it. We missed out in the Premier League. We got to the final of the playoffs. Lost to Palace at Wembley. That was a big blow. And Howard Kendall was our manager at the time, and then he left to go to Everton. Nigel Spackman came in, and the first thing he did, Craig, was get rid of me.
Did you not have a go at him? I remember at one of the
that was a Celtic
games.
Rangers game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
there was a terrible picture in the paper. I think it was the Sunday Mail the following day, and my fist was just round about his face. It was in the middle of the park. I do remember it because we had a break on, and I was running through the middle. I had a chance of a goal, and Nigel just wiped me out in the middle of the park. So
professional foul. That one.
That old one.
0808 17 17 700. You know the number to call. Celtic fans, give us a call. What are you thinking ahead of this weekend? And Rangers fans still in a high after the result the other night. Andy, you would welcome it. It's terrific, isn't it? Rangers are now 180 minutes away from Champions League alongside Celtic.
Well, it takes me back to the times I used to work with Archie McPherson at STV, the greatest living Scotsman, as he calls himself.
He's a wonderful, swept away.
Celtic and Rangers were playing every Tuesday, Wednesday, Champions League, and they were great times. To have that back again would be unbelievable for Glasgow.
It's going to be some game, isn't it, against PSV? What about Ali McCoist's comments this morning? Listen, everyone, respects Ali, but he harks back to 2008 again. But more particularly just now, we'll have to ask Rangers: do they want the game to be changed against Hibs? But Rangers surely need game time.
Well, understand what Coisy was saying, but maybe it was emotional and not looking at the fixtures and the potential backlog. Yeah, so I think that. The scheduling to potentially be a game behind Celtic domestically, you feel as if you're always playing catch up. I don't know whether there has been any approach, by Rangers to see whether the game could be changed. But scheduling, I think, can be quite difficult. I also believe, Paul, that Rangers and Celtic now, the squads for me are big enough to be able to handle whatever schedules are thrown at them. That's the type of clubs that they are, and that's the way they prepare. And I just think that playing game for game with Celtic, I think is very, very important.
It's also a game we chose live. Sky chose live a number of weeks ago, and if Rangers had a problem with it, I'm sure they would have made some sort of contact. But I'm not sure they want to cancel it. I think it's a great fixture to have before you go into against quality opposition.
And we're also going to have the World Cup before we know it. And in a month's time exactly, we've got the international break. Because we've got 3 matches coming up, obviously, against Ukraine and Republic of Ireland.
I'm just not sure that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst would want the game to be postponed, but I stand to be corrected.
A few other headlines today. Fashion Sakala is staying at Rangers. Certainly, meantime, the Burnley offer not good enough. That's the latest there. Michelin confirm interest in hiring a foreign boss. Is it going to be John Kennedy? I'll ask you about that in a moment or two. Celtic fans, what do you think? 0808 17 17 700. And Giakoumakis has been revealing wearing number 7 jersey. Georgios Samaras told him, Andy, don't wear the number 9 because that had been his. But number 7, there's been some great players have worn it. What was your number originally? I think I remember.
I wore 7 once or twice, but really you just wanted 1 to 11 because if you were 12 or 14, you weren't playing.
You were number 10, weren't you?
My first season, I was just given it. Billy gave us and actually it was the shorts. We didn't have numbers on our back at that time, so it was just our shorts. So he gave me the 10, and it was a good season.
Celtic B have signed a keeper today on a free transfer. It's Josh Clark comes in. And remember, Dundee United tonight against AZ Alkmaar over there. We're going to talk about that. What a great result last week. But you feel, well, I'm not going to say. I'll ask you in a few moments. But they did so well, didn't they? Good goal by Glenn Middleton. But will that be enough to see them stay in the tournament? Well, we'll find out. And Andy, one of your old clubs, Motherwell, where it started out for you. New manager, Stevie Hamilton. Stevie Hamill, the new manager. Just thinking about Hamilton down the road. What do you think of Stevie coming in? I heard you on Sky the other week. I did mention it, and you said, well, it's your point. Why did they wait till the Sligo games?
I didn't understand their process of getting rid of Graham Alexander. I think when you look at it from the start of this year, they won 5 games till the end of last season. And apparently, I saw them a number of times. The football was poor. The fans were unhappy. And I think the discussion to be had in the summer was then, is Graham Alexander going to take us forward? And obviously the discussion was had, and he was given money to get players in. And I don't understand why you just bin him after, in effect, what was a couple of games. I think sometimes the hard decision is to make it during the summer months when you've got a clear head, when you can all speak a bit freely. And I think there's been a waste of some money there, because obviously Stevie Hamill's coming in. Is he the cheap option? I don't know, but I think he'll certainly get the respect of the players. He's been there for a long time, and I really wish him well. I've got a great fondness for Motherwell, and I hope he does good things there.
Brian Kerr, his assistant.
Yep.
Craig, what's your view on that, about the fact that Graham Alexander was given just 2 games? Either make the change in the springtime or give him a bit of time to bed in the new look team.
No, absolutely. I think the start of any season, whether you're a new manager or whether you're a manager that's already been in place, you're bringing in new players. That always takes time to gel. But we sometimes see quite often, don't we, that clubs that knee-jerk reaction and kind of make that early call. I get a feeling there's a little bit of player power within Motherwell. And I don't know whether or not that worked against Graham Alexander. At the same time, I'm pretty sure that's the big reason why Stephen Hamill has got the job. I believe that he's well liked at the football club.
I didn't understand, Craig, why Stephen O'Donnell wasn't playing. I went to the Motherwell Sligo game. It was a poor performance. And it's exactly the type of European football that Motherwell should be aiming for. And what a fantastic crowd that night. They were queuing outside.
Yeah, I was there.
To get in. It was magnificent. And I know he'd a problem or two with one or two of maybe the more experienced players. But again, that's something you address during the summer. And to be fair to Graham Alexander, he got Motherwell into the top 6. Yeah. He got them European football. A great job, but then you have to balance that out with the 5 wins since the turn of the year. The football wasn't inspiring, wasn't entertaining for the fans, and that was the time to, I think, make a hard decision.
Motherwell fans, what do you reckon? Come on the socials at Go Football Show, or call us into the studio here in the heart of Glasgow. Andy Walker, Paul Cooney and Craig Moore. 0808 17 17 700. What about this weather, Craig? Magnificent.
Unbelievable, eh?
Should we be having I see in England this weekend, they're going to have the water break. Andy, you'll be down for it. Are you up for that this weekend, or am I just being a bit of a...
You're asking an Aussie that's played in a lot hotter weather.
I am.
And a lot of our qualifying stuff was through Asia and the humidity out of control. 27 degrees, I think, is okay.
Is it not a certain temperature it has to reach?
It says 30 degrees. But today, coming in, it was 29.
Listen,
so
sports science, all the rest of it's taken over. So
yes
look
or
after
no?
the players.
Yes or no, Andy? This weekend,
It doesn't bother me one iota, as long as it's not too long.
Yeah. You slapped me down on that one, didn't you? You're absolutely right. Australia, you're used to humidity. Yep.
You know why? Because then when they started to do it in Australia, I don't think it was necessarily for the benefit or the welfare of the player. It was about what adverts they could throw into the program.
Yeah, we're not doing that, Sky.
No. Okay. Let's turn our attention then to Rangers and that result the other night, and I suppose more specifically PSV Tuesday night here at Ibrox. Here's the manager speaking about the opposition, and he knows them well.
Well, I mean, it's familiar. It's a familiar team for me. It's great to see Ruud van Nistelrooy. Again, we have so many familiar faces on the bench. Fred Witten as well, I was the assistant of at Feyenoord a couple of years ago. Hoyer, who I played in the national team. It's a familiar place for me, so it's nice to be back in Holland for a couple of days after so many months in Glasgow. You know, we're going to prepare well. It's a big chance for us to take the last hurdle and to become a team who can play Champions League this season.
So he certainly does know them. There's a great association. You were with them as well.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Like I says, I mean, go back to, I think it was 99. We had 2 wonderful results against a very good PSV side. Ruud van Nistelrooy was playing in that side. Unfortunately, I brought him down in one of those games for a penalty. Unlike me. But we managed to go and get the right result. But look, you know the Dutch sides in terms of the way that they want to play football. But at the same time, I think they can be quite predictable. You know exactly what you're up against. I actually think that this is a good contest for Rangers.
Better than Monaco.
Yes.
Because of that.
Yeah, I just think that we know a lot more. We know a lot more. Giovanni, with his background, he's going to know exactly what to expect from PSV. And I think, look, it's a good contest. The only difference is from recent successes for Rangers is it's been the away tie first and the home tie, which is, that's where it's really come to its advantage for Rangers. It's the other way around this time.
Andy?
Yeah, I don't think Rangers will fear anyone, especially at Ibrox. Their recent record in Europe has been extraordinary, but I think it is essential they get Champions League football for that money. They need it.
It's huge for Rangers, isn't it? Because in the transfer, they've lost Bassi, they've lost Aribo. They've brought money in for them.
I'm not convinced they're a better team without Bassi, without Aribo. I thought both of them were exceptional for Rangers last season, and it just remains to be seen whether Rangers can get through. Whoever it was going to be, whether it was PSV or Monaco, it's always going to be difficult at this stage. Just 2 games, 180 minutes. It'll be tight.
Craig, what about that? I mean, any team would miss Bassi and Aribo.
Yeah, no, huge losses, but business. There were opportunities that was obviously good for the players and very, very good for the club. And you can't stand still. You've got to continue to move forward. Rangers have gone and signed a number of players this season, and it's now up to them to come in and deliver the standards that are required. And I agree with Andy. It's Champions League, which is where Rangers want to be. I think it's great for Scottish football, and it gives you the opportunity in terms of when you do go to market to really be able to attract the players at the highest possible level.
Makes such a difference. What should we read into the fact, we mentioned it yesterday, the £50 million golden boy, Cody Gakpo, he's wanted by apparently Man United, he's wanted by Leeds United as well, but they're not going to sell him until the result is known against Rangers. Do you know much of him, Andy?
Don't know much of him. My son was actually talking about him today. A bit of a flying machine. I think comes off the right hand side. But I think when you get to this level of football, and especially that name PSV, and the manager, of course, who's been round the block a couple of times, I think you can expect them to have some exceptional players. But I'll say it again, Rangers won't fear anyone at Ibrox. Their record there, you know, Borussia Dortmund and Red Star Belgrade and Braga and
RB,
Leipzig, all the rest of it. And of course, overcoming a 2-goal deficit, that was an impressive result. So they won't be scared of anyone.
Arsenal are in there as well, apparently. But Rangers away, well, let's see what happens next week. Are you confident as well?
Yeah, I think it's a tough game, there's no doubt.
Sure.
And of course, you expect a tough match at this stage to get to the Champions League.
Do you think the games are better, Craig, without the away goal counting double? Are they more entertaining? Are they more attack minded?
No, I don't see that. I'll be honest with you. No, I actually thought that the game was a little bit more on a knife edge with the away goal.
Yeah. I liked it, but I mean,
you prefer it?
I preferred the away goal.
Did you? Yeah. Why?
I don't know, just the sheer drama of scoring away from home and even if you were winning 2-0 at home and the sheer drama of conceding one at the
that's
at
the
the
thing.
death.
Conceding for me, that's the thing that you know, when you concede, all of a sudden there's real pressure, and sometimes because of that away goal back in the day, with that, it's sometimes too big to claw back.
Maybe it is better because a lot of teams liked a 0-0 at home. They didn't concede at home, and then when you went away, they only needed to score one, the opposition needed two. But I don't know, I liked it. I liked the away goal, but we'll see how it happens.
Midfield battle, Rangers had struggled away from home. That's self-evident with the scoreline, and it could have been worse. That's what everyone was saying last week, coming back 2-0, and we know about the VAR decision and all the rest, but it could have been 3 or 4. The midfield, here's the manager speaking about their performance.
We knew that the midfield part would be a very important part of the game today, with the players they had, with the captain always. You know, the play started always with him, number 8, the runner, the 20, the 6. So we wanted to have the midfield domination. And that's why we played with Tom and Malik a little bit inside together with Scott Arfield to create, you know, the numbers there and to make them run. Try to create more chances that we did last week. And, you know, with players like Malik and Tom, you can do that. And John was really important too. Kept the pressure on them, make sure that the balance was good in the team. And we know the fire he has in these moments, and that's what he gave to the team as well.
Outstanding performance, Tom Lawrence.
Yeah, again, outstanding. I think is a bit heavy because I don't think Rangers were unbelievable. I'll be honest, but you know, they've done what was required. I thought that the midfield was good because of the separate lines that they will play, and obviously Lundstrom playing the deeper one. You know that Scotty Arfield, third man runs, is going to test and make those efforts. Crosses come in early doors. You know, Lawrence plays a different line again, and I'd like to see Malik, if I'm honest, play even more central because I think that's where his real threat is. He done extremely well because, again, he was in and out of the game, which he has been in all the matches so far this season. But for 20 years of age, I think he showed a good level of maturity to hang into the match.
There's also, I think, a different approach when you're going at it, and we're level pegging, we're 0-0, we're at home, first leg. Rangers might not be so gung-ho, attack-minded as they were. Obviously, they were chasing a 2-goal deficit. So I think the team might change. The starting 11 might change for next Tuesday, I'm sure of it. It wouldn't be what it was.
Because it was attacking, you're right.
Yeah.
How good was the atmosphere from your point? You were on Rangers TV, weren't you? We saw you.
Yeah, I was. So I come out and watched the first half. And again, it was a really positive start. So the crowd are right up for it. You know, the first tackle, and all of a sudden there's a lift. But you need that goal. After 20 minutes, you know, Rangers didn't get that goal. And then there were, you know, I think it was Tuma that's gone down, and it was a little bit stop-start. And you know, Union come into the game a little bit, and then Rangers get a gift. They get a gift just at the end of the first half there. I don't know what the defender was thinking. But at the same time, you know, Tavernier steps up and shows the composure that and the ability to handle that pressure and slots it at a really good time.
Changed the whole complexion, that goal, right on the half time.
What a time to score, Andy.
What a time to score. Gives you a buzz in the dressing room. The stadium couldn't wait for the second half to start. It was perfect timing.
Slim margins, thin margins. 0808 17 17 700. Andy Walker and Oz on the programme. Back after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
Go Radio Football Show. Thanks for making the switch. We're on every night, Monday to Friday, 5 till 7. Tomorrow night at this time, it'll be Barry Ferguson and Mark Guidi, and the score predictor tomorrow as well. We'll tell you more about that. Tonight, we're in the company of Andy Walker, who joins us here in the studio. You came on last season, Andy, but you're now with us in the studio, and alongside Craig Moore. Craig, we've just had an email, and we're going on the lines to Stephen in a second or two about Motherwell, because that's one of the big stories today, new manager. Talk about that in a second or two. But Grado from The Breakfast Show has been on, and Andy, he sent this from November 1999. Okay, here's
what's he got?
A bit of trepidation. Right, let's make sure I've got the right page here on it. Okay, it's from an Ayrshire paper saying a large crowd will be expected at Kilbirnie when visitors Kilwinning Rangers introduce their midweek signing, former Celtic striker Andy Walker. The introduction of Walker will be giving Kilwinning some added firepower. So did it?
Well, I started football at junior level. I played with Baillieston. I think one of the reasons I got a chance to play at Motherwell was we reached the Junior Cup final, and we could beat 2-0 with Bo'ness, but Tommy McLean signed me on the strength of that game. Yeah. So I really enjoyed my time at junior football, and then I knew I was on the way out. I didn't have much left, and I went to Winning Rangers for one game. And honestly, Craig, one game was enough.
I take it you lost.
We won 1-0 and I scored. It was against
good time to finish.
I'm sure it was against Troon. I think it was a friendly.
Okay,
but it wasn't for me.
Grado is tuned in, and he's back on tomorrow morning with Crofty at 6 a.m. Are you up at that time, Craig, or are you still on the way home?
Every day.
Stephen Reside is on the line now. Stephen, good evening.
Good evening, guys. It's interesting that you've mentioned Kilwinning there, but Dad's no coaching there at the moment.
Oh, is he?
There you go.
Oh, wow. How is he? Because your dad joined us a few months ago. Stephen, so, I think you led the charge about Motherwell. You talked so much good sense about it. What are you feeling then about Stevie Hamill as your new manager?
Well, a lot of fans have said that it's a cheap option. I don't necessarily agree with that. He's someone who's been working at the club for years in the youth academy, so he automatically buys into the club ethos of developing youth, and he's been working with these players for 2 weeks. He can't be at fault for the result against St Johnstone. The players have to manage that game better, and if we get a point for that game, you're then looking at 4 points out of 6 with a squad that's very thin. He spoke in his interview on Motherwell released today that he's identifying players and looking to bring them in. So I think it makes sense for us to save the money that we would have to maybe fork out for the Simo Valakari and use that to improve the playing squad. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
What about the timing of the release of Graham Alexander? Did you hear Andy earlier on saying it? And I heard you saying it on Sky, Andy, that you were surprised by it. Were you? Now you've thought about it, Stephen. I know we spoke to you the other week about it. Do you still think it was the right decision?
Absolutely. The football was dire to watch, to be honest with you. I mean, he wouldn't have been in the job had we not got top six. If Ricky Lally didn't score that last-minute equaliser against Livingston, I'm pretty confident that he's not in a job going into the summer. And I know that would beg the question from Andy's mind, if you were going to sack him before then, surely you sack him at the end of the season. But I think when you're a club of Motherwell's size, to come out and say that you've sacked a manager that's just got you European football, I think everybody would have been slamming the club for that. So the results in Sligo were of no surprise to me. I mean, he came out and made a comment about a firepower. You look at our front three at the moment, you play a front three, minus Joe Efferton, there's no pace in that front three, so how do you get him behind? How do you hurt teams? The recruitment has been a shambles, and he's the one recruiting the players, so he had to go.
Andy?
Well, you talk about the football being dire, Stephen. I've heard Motherwell fans say that, but it really was from January onwards where the football was poor. And I absolutely give Graham Alexander the credit for finishing in the top 6. I've got to say, I don't think it was the best league we had last season. When you see the big city clubs, Hibs and Aberdeen, struggling in the bottom 6, I don't think their level of competition was great. And I think it was lovely to see Motherwell get into the top 6. But if you're talking about the football being dire, the football was dire between January and the end of the season. So the decision to be made was during the summer. The football's dire, what are we going to do about it? And if you give Graham Alexander the go-ahead to start the season, then, you know, give him the go-ahead to do a bit more than a couple of games.
Stephen?
No, I understand your take on that, Andy, but I think, particularly when Motherwell is a fan-run club, and see when you see the scenes in Sligo, I mean, the fans are really ramping pressure on the club to get rid of him. I don't think he could have stayed in the job after that, because there was just too much animosity coming from the fans. I mean,
Stephen, I was at the game. It was such a huge disappointment, because I was outside the ground half an hour before kick-off, and they were queuing to get in at every turnstile. It was a great thing to see. And the pre-match tifo that they had, the level of excitement, the fact that you're up against a team that Motherwell really should be beaten over 2 legs and couldn't even score a goal. So I totally get that, but it was no change from January, and that's what I don't understand, why the change wasn't made in the summer, when, you know, it's sometimes hard decisions have to be made. But when you've had 5 wins from the turn of the year to the end of the season, surely that's the time to make a change.
Craig Moore. Craig, what's your take on that?
Yeah, look, again, I don't like to see people lose their jobs, but I mean, I think we're all in agreement here that the type of football that Motherwell play has not been nice on the eye. Now, I understand there needs to be a balance in terms of what's an attractive style and results, because at the end of the day, it's about results. They hadn't found that balance. My concern, look, I wish Stephen Hamill, who's a great lad, I wish him all the very best with his job. I hope that he's brave enough to maybe throw some young talent in there, because there's no reason why he doesn't know that talent, being the academy director. Mm-hmm. You know, so there's a great opportunity there. I kind of sometimes tend to look a little bit further though. If it doesn't work, and then he loses his job, they actually lose a whole lot more, because who plugs that hole of academy director and what's been in place for that period of time, which is very, very important to Motherwell.
Stephen, you were coming in there. He is making changes. Have you got enough players? We know you need more players, but what are we seeing? What difference now under Stevie Hamill?
I think that he's already shown. I mean, those young Spears in for his debut against the Mirren on the season, so he's not paid to.
We've got a terrible line there, Stephen. We're going to call you right back, can we? We just lost most of that point there. He has thrown some players in.
It would be great, Paul, if he goes up to Pittodrie at the weekend and gets a big result. I mean, that's tough. That's a difficult game. Aberdeen are a new side. They've spent a bit of money. I thought they were decent at Celtic Park the opening day of the season, and obviously the really strong victory last weekend against St Mirren. So they've got a bit of firepower in them. So it's going to be a real test for Motherwell, for Stevie Hamill at the weekend. It's a big test every week. The games are difficult. Motherwell are a club with very modest resources.
We'll get him a second or two. I think Stephen back on there. Craig, that is going to be a tough journey. Aberdeen, not the journey, but the game itself, because Jim Goodwin, it looks as though he's got the motoring. Back to Stephen then. Stephen, sorry, at that point we just lost it there about the changes he's made already.
Yeah, I think he's already shown that he's brought young Keane Spears in against the Mirren, so he's shown that he's brave enough to put the youngsters in if need be. And having spoke to myself and having heard them in interviews, he's already looking to identify players to bring in. So I think he's going to be brave enough to make his own decisions. And as a manager, you have to be, particularly in your first job, you have to be brave enough to say, you're not good enough, you're not on the squad.
What is success for Motherwell this season, Stephen, do you think?
Just staying up, Andy. I think with the squad that we've got, it looks really thin. To me, you don't know where the goals are coming from. You look at it, the 2 goals that we have scored, one's a penalty and one's an own goal from a corner. So we actually scored a goal from open play. So we definitely need attackers in. But just to stay up and then take it for there. You know, as the season progresses, your ambitions may change. But I think first and foremost to stay in the division.
Do you know what I was thinking as well, Craig? The 7,500 there that night, it was magnificent. I joked the other night and said it was great up until kick-off time. The atmosphere was amazing. You know, it was John McGinn and Paul McGinn's parents. You know, there was a buzz. Andy was there. He patched me, completely ignored me as I was queuing.
I saw David Turnbull. He was there. He was back seeing a few of his old pals.
Yeah.
And obviously home to see Motherwell win.
Here's the thing, Craig. Local people could get behind in bigger numbers, couldn't they?
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm going back a right number of years where I think I even went along to watch Motherwell play Borussia Dortmund.
Oh, you lived in the area, didn't you?
believe.
Wow,
You know,
Dortmund, yeah.
Yeah, like, so, look, Motherwell have always been a club that, you know, community-based club, integrate well, develop their own players that come in, do well for a couple of seasons and they move on. That's the business model. It works. I think what they're lacking though, in terms, and Stephen touches on it, they need some pace. And the pointy end, you need pace to be able to stretch your opponent and start getting in behind. Causes another.
Woolery's a big miss for them. He got them in behind so often last season. I thought Liam Donnelly was a good player, a good footballer. Sorry, Stephen.
Why we sold Woolery, I don't know. I don't know why we sold him.
Well, if you're selling someone with that type of pace who gets you in against most opponents, you know, you would think you had someone similar to replace him, but doesn't look that way. I thought there was a real lack of pace against Sligo in the home match.
And that's been the case for the 2 league games as well, but Stevie Hamill can only work with what he's got. Do you know what I mean? So I'm sure he's identified targets that he'd like to come in. Someone I'd like to see coming in, because I don't think he's had much game time at Celtic, is Mikey Johnson to the end of the season, something like that.
What a great shout.
Good
Craig,
shout, Stephen.
yeah. Mikey Johnson.
Look, I can't speak on behalf of Mikey Johnston, but
go on.
he's not going to play.
Yeah.
He's not going to play at Celtic. So again, if you're a professional footballer, you want to be playing football.
Can you phone Ange? Come on, the Aussie connection. Let's do
It
it.
doesn't answer my calls.
But honestly, Paul,
isn't that a great shout?
I hope he goes and plays somewhere, and I think Motherwell would be a good move for him because he would play every week. And I've got so much to be grateful to Motherwell for. I felt as though I was in a good school there. Gary McAllister, Chris McCart, Tom Boyd, Fraser Wishart. We'd a good group of young lads that got a chance to play, and we had a great manager in Tommy McLean, Tom Forsyth. It was a really good school for me to go to and learn just how to be a professional.
You've got a diamond in your goalkeeper, haven't you? He was in great form against St Mirren, Liam Kelly.
Oh. He'll get 10 points this season.
Yeah.
That's how valuable he is to this club, and the fact that we've got him in a 3-year deal is the best bit of business that Motherwell have done in the last few years. We've always had good goalkeepers, well, like Darren Randolph, John Ruddy. We've always managed to kind of have someone good goals. You can go back further to Andy Gorham.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? What the keeper was. So we've always got a good goalkeeper. And hoping. I think that Liam Kelly's going to go to Hearts when Craig Gordon retires, but hopefully we can get a bit of money for him if he is going to move on eventually.
And you see, are you going to Aberdeen? Is that a daft question?
I don't actually know yet, because obviously it's a long journey and the football's not been the best. So,
of course. But did you go to Sligo? You did, didn't you? I saw it on social media.
Yeah, I went to Sligo, unfortunately. But no, we've had a good couple of days. Football was the worst part of it.
Yeah. Stephen, we're going to let it go just now. It's not the best line, but listen, good luck at the weekend. Scoreline, what do you think? Aberdeen, Motherwell?
I think it'll be too much for this to beat Aberdeen. I'm going to go 3-1 Aberdeen, unfortunately.
Are they going to play Stephen O'Donnell again? He's going to get back in because got Paul McGinn in there. But, you know, he has done so well for Scotland. And
I think he can play the two of them, I think.
And against Sligo, you're not surprised that they didn't use both of them?
This is what Craig's alluding to, with some sort of fallout with Stephen O'Donnell and Graham Alexander. I was really surprised he wasn't in the starting 11. And I know he come on against is it St Mirren, but he come on early. He was still on the bench. And Paul McGinn got injured.
Stephen, will that be resolved? Would you like to see both of them bombing forward?
Well, we played both weekend, so who knows, we might. O'Donnell played left back, McGinn played.
It could be the way forward. Going to let that go because of the line. Stephen, thanks so much for calling in. Stevie Hamill is the new manager, along with Brian Kerr, his assistant. Did so much. Well, everyone has got a good word for him. Everyone says he's a great guy.
He was on the show
last year,
and I think Stephen's right. It's going to be really tough up at Pittodrie. You would fancy them there, but I think the following week they're at home to Livy. And that's the one where they could.
Huge one.
It'll be difficult, but a winning start there would be great.
Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors, the familiar voices there of Andy Walker and Craig Moore. Aberdeen Motherwell this weekend, as we mentioned. Livingston against Hibs, Rangers against St Johnstone, and St Mirren against Ross County. Some of the Saints fans don't want to travel because of the cost to away fans. I mean, I know we were talking about it earlier. Lots of the clubs, it's costing a lot of money to go and follow your team. And then on Sunday, Hearts Dundee United, and the game you'll be covering, Andy, Kilmarnock Celtic. We'll talk about these games and more after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
Some great chat here with two stars of Celtic and Rangers. Andy Walker here on the Go Radio Football Show alongside Craig Moore. They had a few battles over the years. We're just chatting there. Andy, best defenders you played against then. You had how many? 68 goals for Celtic.
69, come on.
Oh, 60. Oh, right, sorry, we lost one there. Yeah. 69 goals for Celtic. Who were the toughest defenders you were up against?
Well, when I was at Motherwell and then my early years at Celtic, I mean, Aberdeen and Dundee United were just coming off the back of the best teams in their history. You're talking about Miller and McLeish, Hegarty and Neri. Rangers had Gough and Butcher and Roberts. I mean, absolute quality. I can remember Dundee United's back four: Gough, Hegarty, Neri and Malpass.
Wow. Yep. They went all the way to the UEFA Cup final.
Fantastic.
Just missed out. Amazing,
so
wasn't
absolute
it?
quality you were up against. It was great.
And you came up against this man just a few times.
Just a few times, yeah.
Celtic, Rangers, and then that United game.
Yeah. I was slightly younger.
You're slightly younger.
Just coming through, young whippersnapper, just coming through the ranks.
Yeah. Best player you played alongside then over the years? Let's say in your Celtic, in your Motherwell jersey, who was, you'd say, the best player? Gary McAllister? Well,
it would be Gary. Gary was a special player even at that young age, and it was just the daft things, like just the way he would strike the ball. I hadn't really seen. He struck a ball beautifully, and it was effortless. And I used to look at him in training and think, "You try and strike a ball like that." Yeah. And you can learn off. I mean, I was learning off Gary, and Gary's the same age as me, but the way he could pass a ball was great, and it was a real joy to play with him, because Tommy used to say, just show and Gary will find you.
Yeah.
So you come off short and Gary would give you a pass, but it was too brief, because Gary went away down to, it was only a season. Yeah. Gary went away down to Leicester and then
first.
Did all these things.
The rest history. Craig, just thought about Gary McAllister, of course, big part of the Stephen Gerrard time at Rangers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember. I actually remember his goal in the Battle of Britain that silenced Ibrox. Oh, what a strike that was. I mean, but look, he's been known throughout his career. He's just a wonderful striker of the ball, as Andy said, and that's a lot of practice. It's a lot of practice. That desire to be the best, and you make a movement as a forward player, and you know that he could find you.
Did you watch him and learn?
You always you watch loads of football, and you learn from all players. I think if you say that you don't learn, then you're a fool. Andy,
3 Scotland caps, your time at Celtic, 69 goals. Who was the best player you played along? Or you can mention a couple of them.
Just very privileged to have played alongside some of the guys that I worshipped when I went along to see Celtic as a teenager. Roy Aitken, Tommy Burns, Paul McStay, who again is my age, but he was playing for Celtic when 16, 17. Tommy Burns, Packy Bonner, and even Granty. Granty was great, because Granty always tells you he gets all this stick, and he did. But what you loved about Granty was he kept coming back for more. Never ever hide. He
enjoyed the stick.
Yeah,
and he was a great professional.
I'm glad you said that.
Great professional.
He's too self-effacing too, because he sits in that chair last night, and quite often he said, I got enough stick and all the rest of it. I mean, it's the point and all that. The point.
You wouldn't play under as many managers as Granty did without being a decent player. He was good. I think Paul enjoyed really playing alongside him, Paul McStay.
Yeah. And they were very different.
What did he have? He must have had about 400 odd games for Celtic. I loved Granty as a teammate.
I remember when I was coming through, obviously as a young fella, and a couple of times I get thrown in the middle of the park as I got thrown into different areas, and I was certainly no midfield player. But again, Peter Grant and Paul McStay, and you bring out a very good point. they were very, very different players. But I think that's why they work so well together in the middle of the park, because you need to have good partnerships. You need to complement one another. And sometimes the same doesn't work. And I thought they were a fantastic combination in the middle of the park. And when I did manage to get in the middle there, they enjoyed the tussles.
I must say, I did not expect him to be so successful in his coaching career. I thought he was I thought he was one of these lads. He would always hang about Motherwell, Lanarkshire, Châtellerault and all that stuff. He was a Coatbridge boy. And then he goes down south and he jumps around with every single club.
Norwich,
Norwich
Fulham.
did great things at Fulham. Brilliant at West Ham with Alan Pardew. And what were they, just a couple of minutes away from winning that cup final against Liverpool, but Gerrard puts one in from about 30 yards.
Andy Walker, you scored at Anfield. You scored against Liverpool.
I scored at Anfield,
There you are.
Yeah,
Tell us about that. Who was that with?
Well, that was with Bolton. We drew them in the cup, and we played them at Bundon Park, the ground at the old ground. The old ground, aye. And we were 2-0 up, and Liverpool came back. It was 2-2. They were the holders at the time. And of course, everyone says you've lost your chance because you can only beat them on your home patch. But we played them on the Wednesday night and we beat them 2-0. And the thing I remember about that was we got applauded off the pitch by the cop because they realised it was they were beaten by a better team on the night. And we had some good players. John McGinley, great to play up front with John.
You were a great double act.
John was great. He was a bit like Frank McAvenny, just a real workhorse. Not as good as Frank, mind you. Frank was exceptional. But we had Tony Kelly, middle of the park, Phil Brown, with Jason McAteer, Alan Stubbs.
Course,
they were really good players.
And in Liverpool, who were you up against at that time?
Liverpool, John Barnes was playing.
What a player,
Ian Rush played that night. Jamie Redknapp played that night. Jamie was very good. He came into Players' Lounge after the game and shook our hands. He had a bit of class about him.
Good, It's great, isn't
nice.
it? Nice.
It's great. So, great memories. Like I played at Anfield once, but didn't experience the joy that you did.
And a cup game you can take. I think we had about 8,000 there. So happy days.
Happy days. You're enjoying the broadcasting side. You're with us here on the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors alongside Craig Moore. But still happy? Yeah, Craig.
Always happy.
Of course, you're in good form. Yeah. Any big deals on the go at the moment that you can tell us about?
I tell you what, I'd love to land a big one. Just working hard. You got to keep at it, mate.
You're flying across the world.
What have you got? A couple of weeks left.
Here we go. We've got 21 days, 5 hours.
21 days. There you go.
My old trick. Back to the other night. I'm just looking for Celtic fans. Just looking to see if there's anything new in today. Josip Juranovic, it won't go away. Rumours about Man United, Chelsea, Leicester as well.
Can they keep him?
Yeah. Well, Champions League football. They couldn't afford to let him go, or could they, Craig?
Well, look, I remember we had this discussion. It was probably 6 weeks ago, and initially I was like, well, same. Like it's Champions League football at Celtic. He's a very, very good player. He's settled in immediately. Real quality. Croatian national team player, and all the rest. But I think he's good enough to potentially attract a team that is also playing Champions League football. So that's the issue and the concern. I think that Celtic are going to do well to hold on to him.
Money talks with every player, Paul, and it just depends. I mean, I don't know where the bidding would start, but he recently signed a new long-term
5
contract,
years.
so you're talking about big bucks already.
Of course.
But every player has got a price. I'd be very surprised if he left, but you never can tell.
If pushed, how much would the bidding start at?
I don't like getting into
No, I
these.
know. People say
what they're worth.
He says, I know, but tell me.
Honestly, the Scottish market is so different to England, and that's the thing
But he's going to move to England. He's going to move to England if he's going to move.
I mean, I think Arsenal got a bargain with Kieran Tierney.
At 25 million,
But
3 years ago.
that's big bucks.
Sure.
And you'll not get more than that for a Scottish-based player.
Calvin Bassey,
Calvin
20
Bassey,
to 23 million.
There's big bucks, and that is a great piece of business.
So you'd say it would have to start with a 2. It'd be a 20 million.
I don't think you'll get anyone prepared to bid that at the moment. He's not done enough for Celtic. I thought he was a right good player last season. Of course, the big game was the 3-0 game. When was that? January, February. And he was outstanding that night. Kept Ryan Kent really quiet, and I think he can improve here. But I'll never be surprised at any player moving on, because every player's got a price.
And from a Scottish point of view, you would hope that we see a bit more of them for the next few years anyway.
That'd be great.
And then
Well,
move on. It's too soon.
I think when you look at Celtic and Rangers, Paul, I think they've both got what the other one wants. I mean, Celtic want that prestige of European football and wins in Europe on the continent, get that kudos, get that recognition, and Rangers want the title. So they want what each other have, and hopefully it'll be a good title race again.
So you're saying then that, well, this prediction time, what is your prediction? Who's your prediction for? Because we've gone round everyone 2 weeks ago to find out who they.
Yeah, I think Celtic will win the league. I think they've got a really strong squad. When I looked at them in the first game of the season, you look at their bench immediately, every single player could have played in the starting 11, and it wouldn't have made the starting 11 any weaker, I don't think. And I just don't think Rangers will be as strong without Bassey and Aribo. I think it'll take a bit of time for the new players to come in and to gel. And I know you'll throw back at me, well, Celtic did it last year, but yeah, I think Celtic are stronger.
It's going to be some season. And Craig, last week we did say when you saw Rangers playing so poorly over in Belgium, you looked at the squad and we were saying that, Andy, without Bassey and Aribo, it's not as strong. Rangers have got 5 million in the other evening. They're 180 minutes away from that 40 million sign that we had up there. What would you expect to happen then? If Rangers can go through against PSV, what's going to happen in the trading in the last few days of the window?
Look, again, you never really know. I mean, but Rangers are set for all sorts of different scenarios. So, if you lose Fashion Sakala was mentioned that Burnley potentially pulled out of or what have you. Then,
They're saying 3 million.
And then maybe then you start to hear something about Glenn Kamara or something like that. Look, as Andy touched on, the transfer window, still got 21 days to go, and you just can never rule out any business. But at the same time, I think
business, Craig, is in and out.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. Well, exactly right. Sometimes you've got to move players on as well. And I think Celtic are also in that position because you look at Ayeti, you look at Julian. Yep. There's a few players that they certainly would like off their books as well. So you're right, Andy. Sometimes it's also the business going out. But I think that Rangers will have options for whatever comes their way.
Much was said about the goalkeeping position. Who's the number one? Well, we know now it's John McLaughlin.
Well, I'm pleased with his performance. Goalkeepers always have moments, it's part of the game, especially when you want to build up from the back and you want your goalkeeper involved in the build-up. He had one great save. I think it was 2-0 at that time, so very important save. And then, of course, after that we scored the 3-0. So also happy with the performance of John tonight, and kept a clean sheet in Europe is always what you want.
Both teams have got really very good goalkeepers, would you say? Because everyone says Alan McGregor has been a great goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Andy, what's your take on it? Because you're new.
I'm really surprised that Alan McGregor's not the number one. If Alan McGregor signs another contract, why is he not playing every week? He's a better goalkeeper in my view than John McLaughlin. And so if he signs for another year, he's obviously, I mean, we know he's not got many years left, but if he's committing to another season, then he's good enough to play every week, surely. And I think if he doesn't sign, Rangers have John McLaughlin and then they go out and buy another goalkeeper. But I thought with Alan McGregor staying, Alan McGregor would be the number one.
Craig?
Yeah, and I know that the type of character, Alan McGregor, he will not be happy. Okay, he's not going to be in there and moping about. He'll be professional, but he won't be happy, nor would you expect any player because you want to be playing. But it is a strange one, I've got to say. And with McGregor re-signing, you think that he would be the number one. Clearly, he's not. He's not at this moment in time. And I still think that Rangers are going to go out and sign another goalkeeper next year anyway.
The news is next, then we're back on that and more. That's coming up after the news at 6.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
Service your existing car with us right now.
And it's worth £500 off your next car.
Yes, at Macklin Motors Toyota, we'll give you a £500 voucher off any of our brand new Toyotas when you book in for a service with our expert Toyota trained technicians.
We even have complimentary courtesy cars available, so book your service now and get £500 off any new Toyota.
Visit macklinmotors.co.uk or see us at Kennishead Road, Darnley.
Macklin Motors, the new name for Toyota sales and servicing in Glasgow.
Valid on services till 30th September. Excludes Motability and fleet customers. One £500 voucher per vehicle purchased by 31st December.